Why are flashbacks so important to a great anime? I personally believe that Naruto and Naruto Shippuden is the best anime of all time. And one of the main reasons for why Naruto is the best anime of all time is because of their brilliant use of flashbacks. If you've ever watched Naruto, you'll realise that during important scenes there are many flashbacks, and often you'll even see the same flashbacks many times, and this is done for good reason. There are a few key reasons why the flashbacks in Naruto make the anime so great. One of these reasons being the most obvious reason is that it reminds us of why an event is so important. And not only will it remind us of the context of what's actually happening in the scene, but it will also give us situations that have taken place in the past that really remind us why this situation is so important. For example, Naruto defeating a very powerful villain will be accompanied by all his failures from the past, for example, and a montage of all the training that has been put in to get him to the point he is now. Whereas a lot of our other animes will just have the character defeating the villain, Naruto will show us why this is so significant and remind us what it took to get to this point, which makes the scene way more impactful when watching. Another reason, I would say is probably one of the most important reasons, is for character development. There are a lot of characters in Naruto, and there are very few characters that you don't know a lot about. And the reason this is because pretty much for every single character in the anime, there are extensive flashbacks to their past and the things that have happened to them, and which gives you a very good insight as to the person they are. Even Sakura and Ino, like their past, where they were friends and then they fell out, and then like the reasons for that and blah blah blah. A lot of other animes fail in this respect, where they'll have, a couple main characters that, you know a lot about and you feel like are actual real personalities that you can relate to, and then the rest of the characters will kind of just fall flat and they won't really have much to them. Their only real personality quirk will be that, a word that they say over and over again for no real reason, and they'll kind of consider that to be a personality, which obviously it's not. Whereas if you think of the characters in Naruto, you can kind of think of their personality and imagine them, what they would do in different situations and things like that, whereas in other animes you probably couldn't do that as well. And what this does is it allows us to feel a lot more connected to each character, not just the main protagonist characters, but all the other characters as well. There probably aren't many, if you're a fan of Naruto, there probably aren't many side characters that if they were to die, you wouldn't be upset. You probably would, even if Choji died or something. Even though personally I don't find Choji to be that great of a character. Even if you were to die, I wouldn't be happy about that. I'd be pretty bummed out because, there's actually a real personality that I'm now losing, from the show. And this just does a lot of things, it just adds more realism to the Naruto world, makes you believe that it's not just some story that's just battle to battle, it feels real, and because the people feel real. It feels like the Leaf Village is actually a village full of actual people, not just mindless little characters that, don't have any depth to their personality whatsoever. And extending on from that, another really huge point is the ability to relate to the villains in the show. There are not many villains in the show that you do not relate to at least a bit, and some of them you relate to quite a bloody lot. And the reason for this, mostly, is because of the extensive flashbacks into their past, showing you the way they grew up and showing you what events created the person that they are today, and shows you why they are doing what they're doing. And some of these flashbacks are some of the most emotional of the whole show, and you see yourself feeling emotional about a villain, which is seems strange, but in reality, people aren't just bad for no reason. A lot of other animes, you'll have a villain and he's just evil just because you know, he's evil. There's no real, he's just a bad guy, you know. But Naruto, there's a very, you know, strong understanding of this principle that, you know, people aren't just born bad. You know, there's a reason why they're bad, and they may only be bad just from your perspective. For example, Pain. For example, we see Pain from the Hidden Rain Village as a villain when, you know, at some point, you know, during the Great Ninja War, he saw the Leaf Village ninjas as villains. So it's just a matter of perspective a lot of the time. And, you know, Naruto uses flashbacks to really, like, show you that. You know, it shouldn't be so simple as the main character defeats the villain, yay, hooray, that's great. You know, sometimes, like, in reality, it's sad when the villain loses as well, you know, because the villain was a real person and they did have reasons for doing what they were doing. You know, maybe they were misguided and maybe they were wrong overall, but to them they weren't wrong, you know. So Sori, for example, the flashbacks that show you his childhood with his parents dying, you know, are extremely emotional. And on the outside it just seems like Sasori is just some evil guy at first, but then when you see the fact that he lost both his parents and then he created these puppets to replace his parents, and in his mind, because of that deep loss for his parents, he genuinely believes that there are no difference between his puppets and real human beings. So in a way he's just fully lost any sort of understanding for life. And I think this is probably purely a coping mechanism to deal with the loss of his parents, because if he were to accept that the puppets are different from real humans, then he would have to ultimately accept that his parents are dead and never coming back. But yeah, I think a lot of animes, you know, really sort of fail in this respective. It just, you know, animes can be entertaining, you know, with great battles and all of that, but you know, if you really don't have that deep character development, then, you know, the battles are cool, but then do you really care what happens, you know, in the end? A lot of the time you don't, you know, because you don't really care about any of the characters involved, you know, and if you do, maybe it's on a really surface level, you know, it's not, you know, they don't feel like real people. And you may care about the main character, one character in other animes, and then the rest of the characters are just yeah, they could live or die for all I care, you know. But yeah, I think a lot of animes nowadays, you know, are just very fast paced, you know. I think they're concerned about people losing attention, you know, they're maybe concerned that if you keep showing them flashbacks and stuff like that, that people will get bored and stop watching, you know, which is understandable, but is also a shame, because in reducing the flashbacks, or not including them at all, you really lose a lot of information about the characters, which, you know, that's all we're really doing, really, aren't it? We're watching characters perform, you know, in the form of an anime. So if you don't know anything about the characters, you know, you're not really going to care as much about the performance. But yeah, I don't know, I would like to see, you know, more animes take a page out of Naruto's book and, you know, slow it down a bit, you know, explain the characters a bit more, let us know why things are happening. But I don't know, maybe it's the new generations, maybe they got short attention spans or something, who knows, and they don't want to sit through any flashbacks, they just want to see action. But yeah, thanks for listening. I hope you found that at least a little bit interesting. Yeah, it was just something that I've thought about, you know, over the years that I felt like talking about on here. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching.